Thank you for joining us for this final video in our series about culture, what it is, the mistakes that we make along the way, and then finally today we're going to talk about what are the steps you need to take if you're serious about improving your culture, changing it in some significant way. If you were with us last time, you know that one of the mistakes that I pointed out is that we don't start with where we currently are when we undertake culture change. So that's obviously going to be step one. You as a leader, as an executive team, whoever it is that's tasked with this culture change project, and I'm going to tell you that it probably needs to be senior leadership, you need to start with the question, where are we now? You can do that through stakeholder interviews, engagement surveys, exit interviews, all sorts of ways that you can take the pulse throughout the organization. So it's not enough for the executive team to sit around in a room and have a brainstorming session about where we are. You need to hear from all levels. You need to hear from all departments within the organization about where is the culture, what are they experiencing? And to be honest, you need to ask better questions than what is the culture currently. You're going to need to work with someone. You're going to need to be serious about the kinds of questions that you're asking. What specific points about culture are you curious about? But really taking the pulse in a serious and sustained way about where the culture currently is. Then I think this is where the fun starts. Then the organization and its leadership can start to think about, where would we like to be? What kind of culture would we like to create? What's most in line with our mission? What's most in line with who we already are? Where do our shared values as individual leaders, maybe as the CEO or the founder, where do we want those values to shape the organization? Where do we think that we need to move away from them a little bit? Really, this is the chance to dream. This is just a chance to pull out those big thoughts, those big ideas, and think about, where is it we want to go? Then you need to be serious about that gap analysis. Where are we now and where do we want to go? And what steps do we need to take in between to help bridge that gap? So that next step is really action planning. And here you're going to need to do a lot of work to make sure that all of the practices within the organization align with the culture that you're trying to create. A couple of places that often get overlooked are compensation incentives, bonus plans, things like that, where people are rewarded for doing something other than what you want the culture to be. You have to be sure that all of the incentive structures are aligned to support the culture that you're trying to build. And then the other thing is that you're going to need to measure and monitor this. So early on, we talked about the things that can undermine culture and this idea that sometimes it just erodes and slips away because we're not paying attention to it. The same thing is true with turning a culture around. If you want to make significant changes, someone needs to be accountable, and maybe a team of someone's need to be accountable for monitoring, measuring, and holding the standards, making sure that you're following through on those actions and making sure that those actions are delivering the results that you intended for them to deliver. And then the final word that I would say here is that culture change is a slow process. It's a slow process. It's not as simple as many of the other projects that are on your calendar. It's not the sort of thing that can be completed in a quarter or even 2 or 3 quarters. We really see the biggest benefit from culture investment starting at that 3-year mark. So be patient, measure things, keep the end in mind, keep checking in to make sure that you're on track. Culture change is possible. It is important for your organization to have a healthy and thriving culture. So please don't give up before you reap the benefits of all of your efforts.